like it so far?
The energy here is just amazing. Fucking love this place.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm happy you enjoy it. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, David participated in a pretty interesting Q&A session at Slash. We are together with his two brothers, Ari and Ingvar. They were interviewed on the stage by their amazing mother, Sigrun. And they were talking a lot about the childhood, how they were brought up. By the way, did anyone watch it? Except for me? Oh, yeah.
You were there.
So, if you have time, just watch it. I highly recommend it. Super, super cute. But since you haven't seen it, maybe you will tell us a bit about your early ages and how you got interested in tech.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, and thanks for letting me be here. It's a wonderful conference, and I'm really enjoying it. So I don't know, I'm born in '77. So, I got a computer when I was 10. I'm from Iceland, but I moved to Denmark when I was 10, actually. My mother was a journalist and was, working. And so, this was a shitty computer with no games on it. So I was really disappointed. My friends had Commodores and stuff, and I didn't. But then somebody gave me a basic interpreter copy, presumably pirated. And told me now I could make my own games. So, like everyone else from my generation that learned to program, I learned to program to make video games. I didn't make video games then for a really long time. I don't know, 15 years. I didn't. But I started sort of a programming career, doing sort of enterprise stuff and web stuff and things like that. But never quite lost the passion for gaming.
And what about studies? What did you study?
Oh, that's the worst. No, I dropped out of university 4 times. And if you took all the pieces and put them together, you could still not make one bachelor's degree out of it. That was the worst. But I did study Arabic and psychology and some physics and 2 weeks of computer science.
Okay. So were different kind of things, yeah, but no actual degree. It's okay.
I just I was so interested in so many things that I just kept kind of wondering. When I was studying Arabic, I was actually studying other stuff, like Egyptian stuff and Hebrew, and I was always doing the wrong thing, wherever I was.
Yeah, so most of people here mainly know you because you founded a pretty nice tech company that builds a pretty awesome game engine.
Thank you.
Called Unity. By the way, how many of you actually use Unity?
Oh,
wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
really,
cool.
It's,
in September.
It's worth nothing without you, so thank you.
In September this year, the company celebrated 15th birthday. Congrats. But tell us about what happened 15 years ago. How did this all start?
I always count the starting date earlier, so I'm up to 17 years now.
Okay.
And actually my co-founders are up to 19 years. Because the story that doesn't get told so often is that first they were kind of programming individually and for quite a while, and then they invited me. They wanted to make games like me, but they were more proactive about it. They actually started. My friend from high school, Nicholas, I used to smoke weed with him, and program and listen to Pink Floyd in no particular order, and play a lot of video games. He was slightly further ahead. He wanted to make games. He's a very creative soul, very driven. He needed to express himself through games, which actually was a need that I never had. For me, it was more intellectually curious and sort of fascinating to learn, but he had this kind of driving need. So he started a game company, which was just him. Then he met this other guy who had a game company, also just really him, Joachim Ante, who's still our CTO. And they decided to collaborate on the engine. And you may have heard this story. If not, you will enjoy it. So, the default state of a game engine is a little bit of code around your game, yeah? Some libraries, maybe some command line tools, some stuff. And this is how it should have been. But they decided to collaborate on the technology, right? So they decided to merge. They had 2 proto engines. One was more about graphics. One was more about loading data and stuff. So they decided to merge them together, which was surprisingly easy. I don't know why, but it sort of clicked in a few days. And then they decided to kind of share this engine between them, but still have 2 different game companies. And if you know anything about technology, this is like the worst fucking idea. like a game engine is like a really, really complex piece of software that is going to have like really difficult trade-offs that you're going to make, unless you have, really large number of engineers and a lot of time. In which case, you can sort of overcome these trade-offs by hard work and design and so on. So, but these trade-offs were going to be brutal, and they were going to share this tech, and they were going to have shared ownership, but then have two different or many different games running on it. It was completely insane. Unfortunately, for us, they decided to drop these ideas of two different companies and kind of join forces completely, and that's when they invited me in, and I became kind of the third founder. And then, because we had so many different game ideas, this game engine kept getting kind of more flexible because it had to accommodate all these different things. So this is how Unity became this kind of weirdly generic, kind of broad, flexible game engine. Flawed, especially back then it was really shitty, but had this kind of ambition to be kind of a broad tool. Then after bumbling around with game concepts and hack weeks and game jams and so many different attempts at talking to investors and publishers, which was a really impossible thing even by then. We sort of realized that we kind of probably sucked at making games, but maybe the tech had kind of had the message to the world somehow. So we decided after years, so basically like the autumn of 2004, which coincides, I think, with the sort of official starting date of the company, at least according to the website or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of when we became a game engine company, you could say.
Okay, but it was not even called Unity in the beginning.
No, it was it was called like game companies. There's like Rockstar Games, there's Bungie, there's Running with Scissors. So we were going to be over the edge entertainment, crazy shit. But the engine was going to be Unity fairly early on. We had a brainstorming session about that, and actually a guy who never joined the company but was sort of hanging out with us a bit. I never met him. He lived in the US, but I think he suggested the name, and it really stuck.
Okay, so you served the CEO of the company from its foundation until October 2014. That's quite a long period of time, and I imagine that you faced a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask you about like the biggest challenge because it's just an obvious question, but if you could travel back in time and say something, advise something to yourself as a CEO of Unity, what would you say?
First we were three programmers and we were just coding together. And then I sort of drifted towards the businessy stuff, and my co-founders stayed, so you could say, with the tech. Joachim as this kind of architectural genius, and Nicholas as this kind of user experience workflow genius, as they are. We didn't get titles right away, but at some point I think somebody told us we had to have a CEO, and we're like, maybe we'll take turns being CEO. And then fortunately I think we felt that might confuse people more than help. So it was decided that I would be CEO. But I never regarded that as like a license to boss my colleagues around, but more like a separation of tasks, yeah. And then I say I was CEO for 12 years. Maybe in practice I was CEO for 10 years, and the first 2 years was just like amorphous, kind of hanging out. But I don't know. Many of you have built companies or are building companies, and it's just like it's a new job every quarter, every year. And there's so much to learn. And we're lucky that if you come from tech background, most of us are smart enough to kind of learn business. Business is way easier than tech, generally. So no, it was just kind of a rambling. And when I look back, I don't even dare to change anything. Like the time traveler that goes back, you could kill Hitler. But if you kill Hitler, if you kill Hitler, something else is going to happen. And it went so well, this whole thing, despite all the pain and. We were so close. We did so many stupid fucking things. At one point we had been, we didn't know this when we picked the name Unity, which is a fucking great name, I gotta say. We had this, we did the one mistake you should not do when you pick a name for your product. Don't not go and look for the trademark, because there's a website for this, at least in the US. You can just search. and it takes like 2 minutes to find out that there's actually somebody who's already trademarked Unity 3D game engine in the US. So, how stupid can you be? So we launched with this, we didn't have the domain, but we didn't have the domain unity.com. We got that later, but so we launched with Unity 3D, which is super logical if you want to like not infringe on the trademark Unity 3D game engine. The one thing we shied away from, we didn't call it a game engine, we called it a game development tool, partly because of this trademark. We were afraid that calling it the Unity 3D game engine was too much of an infringement on the Unity 3D game engine trademark.
But do you know what happened to that another Unity?
Oh no, I know exactly what happened, because they kept writing to us and saying like, you can't do this,
Until now?
No. I wouldn't be laughing here if that was the case. I would be cowering in a closet somewhere. But no. So what happened is that they kept writing to us, and I did. This is not super cool, but I did this thing where you start negotiating and then you disappear. Hoping that they forget about it. So I did this for like 3 years.
Good strategy.
Super strategy. I mean, it was the kind of strategy that works when your counterpart is like really busy and doesn't take you that serious anyway, and also sort of believes that there's not much to gain from harassing you, which was kind of true. We didn't have a lot of money, but and they were not really using this trademark anyway. But they'd like used it once. They sold this internal game engine of theirs once, which means it's like a good standing trademark. You can actually defend that, yeah? You can't trademark your dog and defend that. You have to sell the dog kind of at least once. So then ultimately we had raised some venture capital. This is much later, obviously, and we realized that when the news about this was out, these guys would know exactly how much money we had, which was like $5 million.
Yeah.
We already had it, by the way, but they didn't know. So we knew we had like 2 months to kind of solve this problem. So we had a CFO at the time. He just contacted them very mildly and said, hey, I'm cleaning up some old stuff, and I found this letter from you, and maybe we can just fix it with $50,000. Like, that seems like a fair trade. And they were like, yep.
Yep.
So yeah.
Cool.
we bought the trademark.
So there is no problem now. Okay, so.
But sorry.
No. Just continue.
The whole thing, the whole story is like a series of these kind of near-death, stupid experiences. The good thing is we just kept focusing on the important stuff, which was like customers and tech and, fuck, man.
Yeah.
It looks so pretty from the outside,
What is your relationship with the other co-founders now? I know Joachim is very hands-on.
He's extremely hands-on, yeah. He's so unbelievably hands-on. I love this guy. So Nicholas, my friend from high school, he really did not enjoy the company when he grew up. Like he was the most wonderful founder, because like a great founder, he's completely fearless. We were all very hard workers, but he's an even harder worker, and he pushed us and pushing us took quite a lot of ambition, because we were already kind of there all the fucking time. But he pushed us hard, and also when he was too tired to program, after 20, 30 hours of work, he'd sit like this in front of his computer, bleary-eyed, and he would close one eye, and then he could do pixel art for the icons in the interface. So this is the kind of founder you want to have, yeah? Just completely, whatever it takes. When we hit 100 people in the company, he hated it. He was miserable because it was just too many people, and he doesn't enjoy managing people.
Yep.
So he was really trying to do the sort of individual contributor thing, like a coder hero. And at some point, that's just too complex. There's just too much software around you. You have to kind of work with people, and he didn't enjoy that. So he did a very elegant kind of retirement. When we hit 200 people, he stepped out. I had known about it for a long time. People were kind of shocked inside the company, because then they were like, so who's going to do all this work now? And then what they realized was he had already handed it off, all his work. Very
Smart.
Elegant. Yeah, very elegant. And Joachim is just still there. I hope he'll never go away. He's CTO, but he's a coding CTO, which is unusual when you're a CTO for a 3,000 person company at this point. But this is his way of going deep, with the best coders in the company. He codes with them, pair programs with them, learns from them a lot, and he that keeps him at the top of his game, while he's also kind of spreading his vision and the architecture to all these kind of brilliant people around him. It's a really, really beautiful thing. I didn't think he would pull it off. I remember when we hit a few hundred people, I kept telling him I think you got to stop coding, and I was just super wrong about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Bless his heart. I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing. But in 2014, you replaced yourself as a CEO with John Riccitiello.
Yeah.
And now you're a board member and EVP at Unity. What does that mean? Tell us,
what does
like,
it
how are you involved in the company's life?
Sure. I mean, I'm a board member, which means that like it's a governing body. Like we meet every few months. We debate the company. We debate John's work, which is stellar. So it's not much to criticize. And then we basically keep giving the company a license to kind of go. Yeah. It's such a fabulous team that there was a great team before. John rebuilt a lot of the management team because we needed like that upgrade. I stepped back when we were 500 people, so the journey from 500 to 3,000 is a pretty daunting one, and John has done this fabulously well. Really kind of staying with the kind of old values of the company, but bringing in a lot of new energy and power, working with the old ideas. And then evolving the strategies and even the vision is kind of evolving under his reign. I think it's as good as can be. And then I do some other odds and ends for the company. They stopped paying me though. It didn't seem right to keep drawing a salary. Yeah. But I meet with a lot of the new employees. I give them kind of introductory talks, and then I just have a lot of friends and kind of people I talk to inside the company, just kind of both because I'm really curious, but also because sometimes my perspectives can be sort of helpful. So yeah, and this is called like an EVP. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that I'm not dead. Because you can be a founder and dead. You can have a founder on the tombstone. Nobody has like EVP on their tombstone.
Yeah, correct. But still, you know where the company is heading.
The thing is, somebody does. But yeah,
you know where the company is heading. You participate in board meetings. Can you give us maybe a little spoiler of what should we expect from Unity in next, let's say, 5-ish years?
So, a lot of the stuff we're doing is kind of transparent. Like, we're working a lot with the engine. Joachim went on this kind of rewrite the system, but in this unbelievably thoughtful way, evolving the engine to be data-oriented, like a truly modern engine, which it really wasn't, because no engines really were for the longest time. And this work is underway now, and I mean the output of the so-called DOTS transition is just ridiculously cool. Like it's already delivered a lot of value, and when the sort of transition is really kind of finished in a couple of years, or maybe more. Like it's going to take a long time, and these systems have to coexist. And I see some nodding because yes, it is hard and complicated. Thank you, I respect that. And it's also hard as a developer to kind of follow this transition. I know it's not easy, but I think it's worthwhile for everyone to do this. That's kind of in my mind, that's the biggest thing, and like the ability of a company and a technical team to go and like have the braveness to do this, without doing kind of a second system where you just throw everything out and start over, which might be right for certain companies, but is really truly not right for our community. I think it's wonderful. Another sort of thing that, and this is really, I gotta say, like John Riccitiello's vision, and he saw this way, I mean now it's clear to all of us, I think, but he saw it very early that companies that had something significant, like we have a game engine, a community, a lot of games, a lot of things going on, that then can infuse like almost every level of this product, this platform, this company with artificial intelligence, can just build incredible amounts of value. And he brought that in the form of kind of a head of AI, Danny Lange, a very long-term kind of AI, visionary.
Cool.
And we're doing this now. Like already, it's not one project. It's about kind of readying the whole company for this transition and providing like you could say like sort of crack troops to place with the different units, so they can learn and get good at applying various AI tools. So we're doing it everything from optimizing game performance, building things like ML agents that both provide tools for developers, but also teach developers how to even use AI. This is a transition that is only just getting started. Sort of as a user of Unity, you can see it sort of around different places. There's much more under the surface that we've not shown yet because it's not ready. That's another big thing. And the third it's very abstract, so I have a hard time talking about it, but let me try anyway. So, when we started out, we were just a game development tool. We didn't even call it a game engine, yeah? So game development tool, helping some developers like ourselves, because we had been this kind of, admittedly failed indie developers, helping developers like ourselves be more successful, hopefully, and sort of having a holistic view of that. But of course, starting with an engine that became better and better over the years. And then we had some hunches. We saw, like over time, other sectors are going to use game-like technology, and we can probably export a game engine to other industries. We always kind of knew, if not completely obvious, like overtly, then at least intuitively, that you could take a game engine and export it to architects, but you could never take an architectural visualization engine and import it to games. So there would be this kind of, so there was a natural position for us as a net exporter of technology to other sectors. And then, of course, we're looking at all the new platforms that are coming out, and who knows what happens with VR and AR, and you can ask about it later, but you won't get great answers.
Of course.
But something is going to happen, and some things are happening, and it is exciting, but also the chips and these devices, and the cameras and the connections, and blah, blah, blah. And then the thing I realized recently, and it goes a little something like this. It turns out that the operating system required for 21st century computing looks a lot like a game engine. And if that is true, then we should take it upon ourselves to kind of export this kind of operating system-like thing to kind of everywhere where the needs might be. And the data-oriented transition, the rewriting of the engine, modularization of the engine, these are all kind of important steps towards this, because a monolithic kind of old-school game engine is not going to solve this.
Yep.
But a more modularized system that can kind of flow to different platforms and use cases can. And yeah, so we think it's not going to... The cool thing is, it's all stuff that is useful to the game developers also. So there's no diverging happening. That surprised me, by the way. And sorry, this gets a bit long-winded. We stayed away from some of these things in the earlier years because we couldn't see a way to service our community really well and also do these other things. But now we finally found a way where it's really kind of coherent.
Yep.
So if that's the case, then yeah, I think if for those of you who are using Unity or following us, and thanks for doing that. We intend to kind of stay with you and do really good work for you. I think you'll see kind of a lot of little things happening that are making this possible. And what's wonderful about our industry is that we have so much talent, and there are so many clever people, and we're so well trained because people here work so hard that by the time they're like 32, they already had like a decade or two of experience.
Yeah.
So our people are just like superpower, like what do you call they're like special forces, technologists, and when our people then go and work in other industries, even bringing their methodologies and tools, all the other industries, all of humanity basically benefits from this kind of flow. It's very abstract, sorry.
Yeah, but well, at least you have a big vision.
Did it make any sense?
Cool.
Maybe not. We'll go back to it later if you want.
You can rewatch it later and think.
Oh man, I never watched myself.
Neither do I. So it's fine. We'll never watch it. Okay, so enough about Unity. I know that you're also a partner at Nordic Makers VC fund, and you're a board member and advisor to many amazing companies. Can you tell us about these companies? Is there something you're mostly proud of, except for Unity?
Yeah, I mean, I've not touched anything yet that is like anything close to Unity, so I think that may never happen, by the way, I don't know. It's a pretty unusual company. But, when I was... as I said, I was a programmer before Unity. I learned sort of doing the sort of thinking about sort of technology business on the job, and I really enjoyed that. I moved to Silicon Valley. I was there for a few years, 5 years, kind of learning from the best thinkers in our space. And especially at the end of my time at Unity, when when we had grown the company to 500 people, what happens at 500 people is that it's not really one company anymore. It's like 100 different teams doing different things. And so I'm not like a command and control kind of person, so I don't like giving orders. I claim I never gave an order while at Unity. It may not be true, but it's close to true. And so my passion was really just kind of walking between these teams and quizzing them about their work, giving them some advice, and then sort of funding them, as in like, allowing them to hire more people or do more of this work or not. So when I stepped back from Unity full time, I had this kind of itch, like I couldn't not work with tech teams. So I basically started angel investing as a sort of a fix for my addiction. And that's really what I do now. So I've just, I probably have 100 teams by now that I help.
Maybe a couple of examples just of the recent investments. Something you can talk about.
They're very different. I mean, like it's everything from like a couple of really cool game companies, stuff I know something about, mostly investing in old friends because I have such a lovely network of old friends that I trust and think highly of. From like clan games doing like a very, very serious kind of MMO out of Berlin to Popcore doing ultra casual. Funny enough, also in Berlin. That's maybe a coincidence. And then all the way over to like more traditional software tech companies. My group of business angels called Nordic Makers, we invest together, not quite as a VC fund, although it's sort of almost a VC fund. We invest like up to €1 million in sort of early stage tech companies, mostly in Northern Europe, although we've gone to London and Poland and whatnot. And then I'm really fascinated by biotech. My brother is in biotech, so I get to see some really interesting companies from there. So I've invested in a few, like leather from stem cells without hurting animals, like vertical farming for leather, you could say. Fantastic company. It's a Finnish quantum physicist who is solving, well, we'll see if he does, but I believe he will solve like a significant portion of cancers with sort of an RNA gun that you can fire into cells and stuff. It's really cool. So things like that. And then all the way over to nuclear power. Safe nuclear power. Yes. I did watch Chernobyl with these guys, and that's really fun because they could point out all the things that were like slightly incorrect. But and that's a company, Seaborg. That's a company that could literally save the planet if they managed to make like plentiful, safe nuclear power that can be exported to kind of all over the world without export restrictions. It's sort of all over. Like there's no pattern. I fall in love, and I love entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so like you just look for something meaningful, something that can make a difference, probably.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I think I have 4 rules in how I invest. First, I have to like the people, or at least enjoy the company of the people. Second, it has to be something I want to exist, because I'm essentially using my children's money. So it has to be something where I'm like not proud of it existing. It has to be something I know something about or want to learn something about. And finally, because it is my children's money, it has to be like a reasonably good investment. Or I think I have to think it's a good investment, because like when I'm doing this work, I'm away from my kids, and so I shouldn't also waste their money at the same time. That would be very unfair.
Okay, so let's get back to games. Well, this is why we all gathered here. It's called Games Gathering for a reason. Many people call you a visionary. I know that's not something you particularly like, but it's impossible not to notice how you've been able to predict the things where the industry would turn next, big things, and so on. And of course, I cannot resist the temptation to not ask you the question, what do you think of the games industry right now, where it's going, and what would be next big things?
Yeah. I don't think I ever knew anything before it happened. Maybe at Unity we were really close to things, so we saw things like as they were happening, and that looks kind of visionary to other people. But like honestly, it just felt like reading the newspaper. I don't know, man. The game industry is so big now. When we get started almost 20 years ago, the game industry was like a seventh of what it is now in size.
Yeah.
So everything has just grown so much. Back then we counted like a few 100 million people as gamers, and now it's a few billion.
Yeah.
So I think, and there was always this feeling that there was like one thing that worked in games. This one business model or this one platform, this style. When we were sort of getting out of the ground with Unity, like all the money was in game consoles. There was nothing really else, nothing else really worked. It was a bit of casual, but it was kind of not. I mean, these are kind of cottage industries compared to the real business of games. And now it's just everything is kind of happening. Everything works, and you get these kind of, what do you call it, like sort of, what used to be like a pendulum is now more like a bifurcation. I don't know, like, I don't have any strong view anymore. There was a time when it was all about guessing, like, how important is Facebook gaming, Should you invest all your money in Facebook gaming or just most of your money in Facebook gaming? And this was like 3 years.
Right.
And then like Facebook was like, fuck this is too much. They pulled the plug, and then
right.
like everyone left, which was probably good for everyone. Not everyone left, by the way. A few people stayed behind and did really good work and good business. But yeah, it's not so much that anymore. Of course, some of us kind of, I don't know.
Okay.
No, I mean like, fuck it. I don't have a good answer for you, honestly. No. I got good friends who are like investing really strongly in cloud gaming, getting ready for that transition, and I really respect it. And I've been expecting this transition now for, at least 10 years since OnLive launched, exactly 10 years ago. And I think it's probably going to come. And I really like some of the work that Google has done with Stadia. And I can't imagine other people are not doing similar work. But the transition won't be that fast. It won't be that hard. Because, ultimately we're all competing with these guys, and they're really, really good.
That's true.
Yeah. No, it's all going to work. It'll be fine. Just, do good work, be exceptional, make games that are like actually differentiated. Sorry, go back to kind of investing, but okay, we'll mix games and investing for a second here. My biggest frustration is people that are really sharp, like good programmers, like they come and they show me games that they've been working on for 3 years, and they're like, we can't find investors, so we blah blah blah. And I look at it, and like the reason they can't find investors is that they've just built another Me Too product that is like exactly the fucking same as everything else.
Yeah.
Just slightly worse, or maybe slightly better, but neither is good enough. Yeah. So no, I mean, like, these are cultural products. They have to be fucking exceptional. Like,
yeah.
But every year, we think, oh, now it's kind of saturated. Now you can't break out, and then somebody breaks out with something that's like actually different.
Okay, so a few years ago, you vocally supported VR. I would say you was one of so-called VR believers. So was I. It's fine. What do you think is happening with VR now? Mm-hmm. Did you think it failed our expectations, or we're just not there yet?
Oh, VR. No, I mean, I love VR. I'm actually the only sort of console I'm currently using is my Quest. My Oculus Quest. It's a wonderful device. It's so easy to set up. My kids sort of can figure it out. They love it, by the way. My 4-year-old son loves walking on the plank. That is his idea of a fun evening. It's just, when Oculus came out, how many years ago now? It's like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
5 years.
I think they were exhibiting for the first time at Gamescom in 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so it's actually, okay, 7, we're going to 7 years now, maybe, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, again.
I'm sure you're right, I can't remember. I remember, I mean, Brendan Uribe came with a kind of super prototype to our office in Copenhagen, some summer, 11 maybe, or 10. Can anyone remember? Doesn't matter. The Kickstarter, it was a few weeks before the Kickstarter, so you can easily look this up. Can somebody look it up? I loved it. It was such a cool experience. I wanted to stay in this space forever, even though you had to press a reset for the horizon every few seconds because it kept drifting, because the whole thing was not right. I loved it so much. I was so excited. We supported it. You know, we came. You know, we talked in. Huh?
August 2012.
What's the Kickstarter?
Yeah.
That late?
So
Oh
it
my
was
God.
exactly that Gamescom I was talking about.
Good job.
Yep.
So no, it's and then they did this unbelievable job of getting developers everywhere interested, right? So it was like the most successful developer first kind of launch campaign ever, right? Every game company you came into, they were playing with the Oculus dev kits. And a friend of mine who was running like a Facebook game company at the time, like a Facebook Canvas game company, I forget which one. They were ultimately acquired by Zynga. He had like 100 people in his company in Austin or something, and they had some Oculus dev kits, and so he told his developers, like, we buy these dev kits and you can use them outside of working hours, but inside of working hours you have to kind of make the Facebook Canvas game. And then he had to kind of police the office. He had to go around the office like at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. and remind them that these are working hours still, because every time he turned his back, they were playing with it. Now, what does this mean? It means that the amount of creativity, experimentation, product innovation that went into VR was unbelievable. Like nothing, the world has never seen anything like this at the speed. Millions of developers like hammering on these things. Okay, maybe not millions, but hundreds of thousands at least, for sure. So then, like when these things are not successful, we kept telling ourselves, and the most typical line, and I participated maybe in this a little bit, maybe a lot, it's like, oh, we just haven't found the killer app yet. The killer app is still missing, and it's like, maybe, I mean, like it's like you can't prove a negative, but like, who else was going to find this killer app than these people that had already spent years of their employers' time,
So, but do you think it's ever gonna come out, the killer app?
I mean, there's so many wonderful things, but like, I mean, if the killer app is defined by an application that sells the device, then like, yeah, we haven't found it. But not finding the killer app sort of is like it begs the question, suggesting that the killer app is there, and maybe it's not. I don't know. I mean, now vertical, like industrial companies are using VR. Vario is doing well. I mean, Unity sells a lot of stuff into this. Like, we're fine. Like, we make money on VR. Maybe the only ones in the world actually making money on VR. And there's many interesting use cases outside of consumer, and the inside consumer is fine. Just it's a little slow. I don't have a good answer. It's just I've said this recently, like,
it was a pretty good answer.
VR has been the greatest disappointment of my life, but I fucking haven't given up on it.
Sorry, I couldn't not ask about it.
No, I'm passionate about this thing, as you know.
Yeah.
Well, who is still developing in VR? Fuck, man.
Wow.
Commercially?
Yay!
One commercial developer of VR. Okay.
No, we have more over there, yeah?
Who's using VR on a regular-ish basis? Like last 3 months, who actually used VR for entertainment, not testing somebody else's product, but like at home, set it up for fun? It's not a disaster in general, but at a games conference, it's pretty low. Like, if this was the regular world, we'd be fine. We'd all be really rich by now.
But okay, so still, we're not there yet. Maybe let's now give the opportunity to the audience to ask their questions. We still have 5-10 minutes left, so.
Did we just talk for 42 minutes?
Yes.
Fucking hell.
Time flies in a good company.
In good company.
So, anybody has a question?